Welcome back to Rich Lessons Podcast. Really excited to have one of my dear friends, Tia Whittington. She was actually Tia Lockett when I first met her, but she has gone on to get married. She has two beautiful kids, and she's also the owner of H Cow Boutique. And just happy to have you on. Hi, Tia.
Hi, thank y'all for inviting me.
Yes. Now, when we first met, it was back in college, like 18 years old. Um, what was your plan in college? Like, was it always to own a boutique? You were a teacher before this. Take us through your evolution.
So, when I first started college, I think my degree was in information systems and decision sciences. Why I chose that, I have no idea. The high school that I went to was very tech oriented. So, in Baton Rouge, it's the only all girls school. We all had laptops, which at that point was completely unheard of. So, we did everything via laptop. Always into technology. So I was like, okay, well, I can go into that. Um, as I got more into it, I realized how bored I was. So switched majors. I went into journalism for a little while and then ultimately switched to communication studies. And my journey was supposed to go to go to speech, not speech school, but to become a speech pathologist. But I didn't enjoy it. So I did 1 year of grad school and then decided to get my alternate certification in teaching. Um, the entire time I was at LSU, I substitute taught on the days that I didn't have class. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I would substitute teach at the elementary schools around LSU's campus and really enjoyed it. Always did pre-K and kindergarten. So I knew that that was something I could always fall back on. So decided to do that and I started teaching. So I taught for 6 years before I decided to open the boutique.
Now, what were you thinking about? And I will say this: you've always been very fashionable.
Mhm.
So it came to no surprise to anyone around you that you wanted to open up a boutique. But where did the original thought come from? When was it? Were you just sitting teaching these kids and like, I gotta go. I gotta go do something I really love.
No, so the
You're a good teacher too,
The
though.
thought came from actually my mom. So I'm an only child. Our Saturdays consisted of shopping till we dropped. So, I mean, we left the house at 11 a.m. We hit up the good mall. So we hit up Ham and Air. We hit up, I guess at that time, we still had Bon Marché, Cortana, Mall of Louisiana had just opened. So we would spend the whole day shopping with my daddy's credit card, and he did not mind one bit. So our plan was we did like boutique shopping. We did not have that many in Baton Rouge. So our plan was whenever she retired from her job, that we would open up a mother daughter boutique together because she was also very, very fashionable. She actually had a degree from Southern University in textiles and merchandising, where she graduated as the chief marshal, that's what they called it, of her class. So she could sew anything. You show her a picture in a catalog. She didn't need a pattern. She actually made my dress when we crossed Alpha Kappa Alpha. Couldn't find a dress in the fall that was white. And she was like, don't worry about it. Your dress will get delivered to you in time for initiation. Pick out something you like, show it to me in the catalog, and the next day it was there. So we were always really into fashion shopping, and so that was something we wanted to do together.
Absolutely. And so you did. And when you first opened, you had a storefront for years. What was your process in going about starting a brick and mortar? When at that time, I feel like most people were starting online boutiques, right? So they just bypass
Yeah.
the
So, and
storefront.
I
And that's the
did.
name of the boutique. I don't think we mentioned that
Oh,
yet.
okay. So my mom unfortunately did pass away from a rare form of lung cancer before we could do the boutique thing, which is why I just went ahead and I continued teaching. Um, so the store is open in her memory, and in her honor, but the store is named after my daughter, Harper Cow, who she never got to meet.
Oh, got it. Nice, nice.
Yeah, so H. Kyle.
H.
Shout out
Kyle.
to Harper.
Yeah, so she tells everybody she has a store, and I'm like, sis, when you gonna pay some bills?
Hey, you know, that's what mamas are for. You got to ride it as long as you can.
So she is riding that train.
I love it. H
Yes.
cow. Love it.
Okay, so now how do you go about, tell us about your process of finding a store. Now you found a store, you have to fill that store. What is that origin story to get a business up and running?
Well, you did miss a part. So we did actually
go back.
start e-commerce. So I started with an Etsy shop while I was teaching. So, and it still was called H Cow Boutique. I was one of those very crafty teachers. So I made my own bulletin boards, and I had a little machine called Cricut, and so I could cut the letters with the machine. And I realized that you could cut vinyl with it, and this was before anybody was doing anything with vinyl. And we had a freeze. I can't remember what district I was working in, but they did not shut down school for the hard freeze. So they told us that more than likely the power would go out and we would be freezing, but we were coming to school that day with the kids. And I remember I made myself a sweatshirt with my initials nice and big, and it was glitter. And I wore it to school, and it was probably about a week and a half before Christmas. And I left school with about $700 worth of orders. Like, I had to come up with a price on the spot, and that was like the official start of H Cow. So it never died down because I was like, oh, of course, after Christmas, people won't need gifts. It'll die down. And then it was, can you do this? Can you do that? So I learned how to do that, opened an Etsy shop. And so I worked that Etsy shop every night after my daughter went to sleep from, 9 p.m. to maybe 2 o'clock in the morning, getting orders out. And I started basically doubling my teaching salary. And so I did that for 2 years before I was really like, okay, well, people are asking me to add clothes. So I had moved from the Etsy platform to Squarespace, opened, started adding in the women's clothing as well. But then everybody wanted to try the clothes on. And I was like, well, what do I do? So started looking for a space and found a space. And yeah, I guess the rest was history.
Yeah.
Where did you look for a space? Were you very specific, or were you particular? Where you wanted your store to be?
So I was particular about where I wanted my space to be. So I'm from Baton Rouge, but I live in like the outskirts of Baton Rouge, I guess more so the suburbs. So I live in Gonzales, but in between Baton Rouge and Gonzales is another city called Prairieville. And it was becoming heavily populated. So I was like, knew I wanted my store to be in Prairieville. I actually did write out a full business plan. So went into the studies of, the traffic stops and, how many people would be passing a particular spot that I was looking at before I decided where to put that store officially. So it worked out. And I went and met with the landlord, and I took a realtor with me so he knew that I wasn't playing games. We negotiated a price that I felt like was fair, and yeah.
And now one of the biggest parts about running a boutique is actually getting the fashions.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about that. Like, if I wanted to open a boutique, but now I had to procure all of these fashions to sell, and not all vendors are created equally,
They are
as
not.
we know.
They are not.
Because when people be doing those, what I thought I ordered
And what I got.
it'd be like night and day. But all your clothes are super high quality. Everything in your boutique is super high quality. And I know you have to make a decision even with that, right?
Yep.
Oh, should I get a higher end product or should I get a cheap product? What's your process like when looking for vendors? And ultimately, what was your thought process around going with that quality of fabric or clothing?
So what I will say is when I first started out, because I'm first generation in my family business owner, I had to figure everything out on my own. And, back then information wasn't as like forthcoming, and so you just have to figure it out, and nobody really wants to talk to you. So I can remember there was like a wholesale marketplace online that had all these different vendors, probably like 500-600 vendors. And I would just have to read through the descriptions. Of course, the pictures are going to look great. Read through the descriptions, the fabric contents to see, like, is this something that's going to work? And then hopefully when you got it in, it wasn't see-through and I could charge what I needed to charge in order to make my money back and to make a little profit off of it. So I will say that once I figured out, like, I need to go in person to market is kind of when things changed. So probably about 5 months into owning the boutique, I went to Dallas, went to the apparel market. And that is like 20,000 square feet of temporary. So all the brands come from LA, New York, they set up, and you have a week to go through and pick your clothes. And it's very fast paced, but you go through and you curate your collections, and they take your credit card and they just start shipping. But I have found if I've gotten something in and I don't think that the quality is there, I'm sending it back, and I'll just have to eat the cost of paying the restocking fee because I know that it's not going to sell and it's not something I want to put my name behind.
Well, it kind of sucks. You got to pay.
Yeah.
Yes,
to
of course
sit back.
you have to pay for everything.
Pay for everything. Pay for
Everything.
everything. Now, you did something that a lot of people were not able to do. A lot of boutiques, a lot of restaurants, a lot of businesses. You survived the pandemic.
Yes.
I did.
How was that like?
Um, so I will say there's something interesting about the pandemic. I am really into my faith, and I kept getting these signs even before they told us that we were initially going to have this shutdown. And it was a particular scripture that just kept coming up, and it was Psalm 16:8. I will not be shaken. And I decided to put it on a shirt because I think over the course of a week and a half, I had seen it 3 times. And I was like, I have to tell everyone, like, the doors are locked, you can't come in. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to make myself a little shirt because I kept repeating it to myself. Make myself a shirt, stand in the doorway of the store, snap the picture, put a little caption of, well, it wasn't a caption, it was a letter to the customers, and basically see y'all on the other side. And everybody in the comments were like, yeah, we'll see you on the other side, but where's that shirt? And I was like, just this white shirt with this scripture? And they're like, yeah, we want that shirt. And so I quickly got up a pre-order up for the shirt. I called my screen printers that I have a contract with. I was like, hey, I know we're shut down. Are y'all shut down? They were like, I mean, we're shut down, but we can get what you need done. And so I released that shirt, and I think probably within the first 24 hours, probably I sold like 100 shirts. And I think I was selling them like $20, $24 or something of that nature. And the shirts just kept selling, and they kept selling. So then we did a scripture series, and I let them vote on what scriptures we would do. Sevetri had a favorite one. We used her for one, and so she had a sweatshirt. And that shirt and that series is what kept my lights on. Like, that's how I pay my rent for 5 or 6 months, because even when they said, okay, y'all can open back up, I didn't open back up. I didn't want anybody in the store just because it was at the height of the pandemic. Even though they were saying it was safe, everybody was still getting sick. So I kept the doors locked. I did porch deliveries. I did actual deliveries. You could do curbside pickup. So we made it work. So did photo shoots with my clothes. I had all the clothes delivered to my house. My husband learned how to work a professional camera, and he did all my photo shoots. And so we would just do drops every week around town, taking pictures. And yeah, we made it work for sure. COVID actually was my most successful year.
Wow. So pandemic happens. For the most part, everything is shutting down. I was in Atlanta at the time. Atlanta did not shut down. Atlanta's a different place. It did not shut down at all. So it's a different place.
And it's still doing bottle service.
I was talking like it's a different place for sure. So, but the pandemic happened. You just mentioned it was actually one of your most successful years. But of course, the brick and mortar, everything is like you can't go in there. You gotta wear a mask. You're being an entrepreneur. So you're like, I make deliveries. I'll do what I have to do. But then you transition back to online. Was the decision strictly because of the pandemic and it's no point in me paying this long term? Or was it just really just saying, hey, everything's shifting back to online, it's going to make more sense?
So I had several reasons why I did it. We still had a nice flow of customers. By this point, I had moved to a much nicer shopping center in which the landlord let me build out my store exactly how I wanted. Like I drew it out, and he should have made me pay for the plans and all of that. And then he was like, "You're just so sweet. I'm not gonna make you pay for it." And so I had a really nice space, high traffic area, but my kids were getting older, and mom was missing everything. I was missing everything my husband was doing. My husband was a class 5A basketball coach, so I'm leaving the shop to catch a basketball game or pick up the kids from school. And then my husband turned around and then became assistant principal. So we left coaching, went to assistant principal. He was in grad school, and it was just a lot. We do have a really good village who stepped in to pick kids up from school, but I was missing out on things in their life. We have a soccer game. We have this, that, and the other. Mom, are you going to be there? And when I say I do it all, I'm the content creator. I am the model. I'm the social media. I answer the emails. When I don't have a virtual assistant, I answer the phone. So I was doing all the things.
One-woman show.
I am a one-woman show. I have had like little student workers or interns from time to time, but my customers got to the point where they only want to see me. If they look through the window of the store and they saw that I wasn't in there, they came in and it wasn't, oh, Tia's in the back in her office. It was like, oh, I'm going to just come back when she's here. So, of course, during the pandemic is when I had the renewal of my lease. So I signed it because, we're in the middle of a pandemic. There's nothing else for me to do. And so it was time for me to renew the lease at the beginning of 2024. And I decided not to because they did tell me transparently, like, yeah, the rent is going to go up. Like, we understand that there's like a downturn in the economy, and that's unfortunate, but your rent's still going to go up. And I was like, okay, well, I won't be renewing my lease. We'll just go back online. And especially because I had such great success with it during COVID, I felt like we could make the pivot and be okay. So now we're at the warehouse.
Yeah, honestly, I don't shop. I rarely go in the store. Like, I am an online shopper.
Yeah, I also, because maybe this is so off, but I like to use like Honey. I like to give shout outs because like we need brand deals. But I like to use Honey because I like want to get the discount. And online, hey, you can't do that in the store. Like in the store, like you just gotta pay the price. Online, you can find them the coupons.
Let me stack these coupons.
It's so much easier. So I prefer online shopping too. So that
Yeah. So how has the transition been like for you? Definitely, I'm sure has given you back more time to do other things, but also continue to run the boutique. So how has the transition been from brick and mortar to exclusively online?
So the transition's been okay. The lights are still on, which is my favorite phrase. When somebody asks, how's everything going? I'm like, the lights are still on.
Yeah, that's a big deal for small businesses and like
the lights are still,
yes.
yeah. And like my phrase is just keep going. But it has been a difficult transition for my customers because they are used to me being easily accessible to them, or being able to pop into the store and getting styling advice or even if it was something they hadn't purchased from me, and now I've had to like put up boundaries. Like it's really hard. I can remember the first package I sent out from the warehouse. Um, it didn't. Whoever got that first package, shipping was quick. She got it the next day. She was like, "Hey, um, I need to exchange for a different size. Tomorrow, I'm just going to drive out to the warehouse." And I said, "Well, how are you going to do that?" And she said, "Well, the return address is on the label." And I said, "How do you know that the return address is actually my warehouse?" And she said,
Like, pull on up.
Okay.
and she was like, "So it's not the warehouse?" I said, "No." I said, "Because," I said, I know y'all don't have boundaries." I said, "And although
I was gonna pull up on
I
you.
told y'all that the warehouse was not going to be open to the public just because of the way my warehouse situation is set up, I do have businesses surrounding me that they take in furniture orders for interior designers in the area. So at any given moment, a huge 18 wheeler is coming through the parking lot, and they swinging it. And if your car gets clipped, your car gets clipped. Like, and especially if they can't find you or figure out whose car is for, you're hosing up time. And I told the landlord when I moved, I was like, "This is not a physical storefront. I'm not setting this up as a showroom for people to be able to come and shop. Like, I'm trying to get my life back." So everything is shipping out. If you have to return, it needs to go through the mail. So it's been a hard transition for them not being able to just say, "Oh, I'm just coming over." You can't come over, guys.
But it's also a difference because with brick and mortar, it is more, you have loyal customers, but mainly they're local loyal customers. Whereas online, it's like
Everybody.
anybody in the world can.
And I will say I did manage to keep all of my local loyal customers. They are still shopping weekly and they love it because they know if I get it into the mail today, tomorrow they're going to have it. Like it's they're like, "Girl, you're faster than Amazon sometimes." And I'm
You really are though. Like I'm so shocked. I'm like, it be like my doorstep as soon as I hit order.
I try my best to give them a good customer experience, even though we're not face to face, I still want them to have a good experience. So although in the policies it may say 2 to 3 business days to wait for your order to be processed, I'm not doing that. If I'm at work and your order comes through, I'm packaging it immediately. I'm going to stop what I'm doing, package it immediately, and send it out. So I go to the post office every day. I have 3 favorite post offices. All the postmasters know me. I don't wait in line to drop packages off. Like, I skip the line, drop my stuff off, and I walk out.
I will say that is not the case for most like boutiques or online or not. And the only experience that you usually get that from is like if you're ordering from Revolve or like or Dillard's.
Yeah.
Most boutiques only, I feel like, ship on like Tuesday or Thursday, or like, so you kind of have to wait that 2, 3, 4 plus day. And so if you needed somebody tomorrow or 2 days,
Now, I will say I am, and I won't say that I'm a pushover, but if you are local and I know that you're ordering this because of X, Y, and Z on Saturday, and maybe the mail is running crazy and I want to make sure that you have it. I do have several other business owner friends who do have storefronts, and I will, I'll send a text message and say, "Hey, did you need this for a specific time? Because I noticed I just posted and you immediately ordered it. Like, did you need it?" And if they say yes, I will go and drop it off to a business that is convenient to them.
Okay. Because you have that, it sounds like you already have a workaround for it. But would you go back to a limited time brick and mortar?
No.
You would never go back. So what are some of the trade-offs that you find? Well, you kind of already talked about like people wanting to just pull up on you, but what have been some of the financial benefits or benefits to being just online exclusively and having a warehouse?
So my overhead isn't as much. Definitely has been cut down drastically because all I'm doing is paying for my space. I don't even have internet, a hotspot, because there's some days that I don't have to go into the warehouse and I can actually work from home doing whatever it is I need to do. So the electricity bill is $30. And I mean, I have like a 1,700 square foot warehouse. And I mean, that's great. I don't have a phone line. Well, I have a phone line, a business phone line through my cell phone, um, email, but I hotspot. And so I've been able to cut expenses. But what I will say, one of the downsides of not having the storefront anymore, I still had debt that was tied into the storefront. So I'm still paying for that. So even though I cut my internet off at the store, it was like, oh, well, you're breaking contract, turning the phone off, breaking contract. I had credit card readers, and I had actually just gotten new credit card readers. And so I called to let them know, like, hey, the storefront is closed, so we'll be running everything through the website. And they were like, well, that's unfortunate, but you still owe us. Or if you would like to get out of the contract right now, we'll take a payment of $5,000. And I was like, you can continue to debit monthly.
That's crazy. This is like the hidden cost of doing business that people just have no idea.
Everything is a hidden cost. And, I was nice enough because, sometimes now when you go to restaurants, they'll let you know, like, hey, if you're using your credit card, it's going to be an extra $3 or $4.
Right. That's why.
And I was very nice to not offset that to my customer, because at first I thought it was tacky, and I was like, you don't want to, like, what? This is my business. It's not your business.
Girl, go ahead and pass it on. Pass whatever you can on to the customer. I'm sorry.
Well, we're not going back.
Right.
We're not going back. I do have something in the works where I possibly will be a little more customer facing, where people will get to see my face. And I'm currently trying to figure out what that looks like, because once again, the trade-off was I've been able to get my freedom. So, my husband is now principal of the largest high school in Louisiana. And so he has things that come up, and it's like 2:45. He's like, hey, can you come and get the kids? And our kids go to school in Prairieville, but my warehouse is in Baton Rouge, so I have to put into account, like, okay, well, I might need to leave now because I might run into traffic, this, that, and the other. So, but I can now go and pick up my kids from school. I can go and eat lunch with the littlest one if he like. I don't like to go to school to eat lunch. Former teacher, I don't want to see the children eat. But, those are things that I can do. I can go on the field trips. I don't miss as much. If I want to get my hair done in the middle of the day, I can go and do that. If I want to make a nail appointment, if I want to go and have lunch, I mean, I can go and meet a friend for lunch. I can have lunch meetings now. Before, I was tied to the store because I was my only employee. So from open to close, that's where I was. And they didn't understand when I sit on the board for American Cancer Society, X, Y, and Z, and I'm the head of that committee. Like, I need to be at the meeting to give my report. Yeah. So I'm closing at 5:30, and they're like, but it's like, I just, sorry guys, because that's something that's also important to me. So, I mean, I think it's a fair trade-off for the most part.
Now, you dropped, like, you wanted to drop us a little, exclusive.
I mean, it's not really exclusive. So Sevetri knows this, but there are some things that I do that I don't tell people. So, like, I do personal styling. I'll go shopping for you. Give me a budget, I'll go shop for you. And all these things that I do, you don't ever have to see me. We can do it all virtually. So I have like a styling platform. I'm gonna do better about telling people. Also do consulting. So other people who want to start their online boutique, you can consult with me. I can tell you how to get started. Also, down to you need, how big is your store? This is how many hangers you're gonna need. This is where you can purchase your merchandisers. This is where you can purchase your shopping bags. These are the type of labels, polymillers, and I will send you an entire info sheet when we're done that's pertaining directly to our conversation as far as your business is concerned. So I do offer the consulting, and I do embroidery for other small businesses. So I still, that creative side of me still has to find some way to have my hands in something that is designing. So I do embroidery for other small businesses and
Schools,
schools.
pharmacists.
Yeah, the city. Well, you city.
Yes, yes. Mayor
And yeah, so we are thinking, I say we, but it's just me. I'm actually thinking about dabbling into embroidery pop-ups, but so almost like, when you have those parties and you bring in, an experience like the cotton candy machine
Oh yeah,
or
that'd be so dope.
something.
People
But
love those.
Yeah.
but it's embroidery. And I haven't seen anything like that done here,
No.
not down here. And so in my head, I want people to be able to basically contract me out to come to, the girls' night in or their kid's birthday party. And I will create an embroidery menu that's specific to your event. You can supply the items or I bring the items in, be it makeup totes, tote bags, little tank tops, and they can get something embroidered on it. And, you leave the event with an experience. Also, in my head, I'm seeing like brand activations with like Lululemon, J. Crew, Anthropology. So, in my head, that's what I'm thinking. I've been working on that.
I love
And
it.
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm trying to figure out the logistics of how I roll that out, but I think it could be fun.
I mean, you've been a one woman show already, so I mean, have you? Because I know this is different because it's tech, but I remember being a solo founder in my first tech company, and gosh, that was hard being a solo founder. And with you, different because you've also set boundaries, which I take my hat off to you because it
I mean,
takes
they're kind of there.
it's the boundaries are not the easiest. But you've clearly done well. Is there ever a point that you said maybe it's time for me to build a team so I still can do more, but for me I'm doing less? But it also seems like you're very front facing with your customers too.
Yes.
So I guess
And yes, because it's almost kind of like I've created myself as like a brand, but unintentionally. So, because I also kind of do content creation and local influencing, and I never intended to do that, but it was, I think, more so because I had to be the face of the brand. Because when I would bring in models to put the clothes on, they would still be in the comments. Well, how does it look on Tia? What size would Tia wear? And so I'm like, I still have to put it on anyway. So why am I bringing y'all in? But I know at one time I did have a team of virtual assistants. They, live somewhere else. It got to be really, really expensive, but I had them helping me on the back end with answering emails and uploading, like my inventory in the system for the website. But then I bought it all back. So I don't know. I would love to take my hands off, but I keep finding things that my hand has to be on. So like I wouldn't trust anybody else to do the embroidery. Like
And you're
it
completely bootstrapped. So you have,
completely
yeah, so
bootstrapped.
everything that you make, you put back in your company, you're reinvesting in all these different new projects and ventures as a completely bootstrap company.
Completely.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is not easy. for
It's
sure.
not easy. And I do have people approach all the time about like, oh, have you ever thought about taking in an investor? And I'm like, I don't want any parts of that.
So I have told her that
Oh.
she should look at taking investors in, right?
Like an
Because
angel or two.
like an ain't exactly.
If it was an angel.
yes,
if
or
it's-
two or
She's
three.
still kind of like, I don't know.
I talked to her about it. I was like, oh, you could probably put you together a little angel syndicate,
Yeah.
people who like invest because you just I'm about to say tweet, Lord, forgive me. You were about to thread a
Yeah.
comment. Oh, you did recently. You threaded a comment that basically said, I'm looking at other industries
Yeah.
outside of tech. And I think people are looking to put money in other industries outside of tech.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
and it's also and because you actually can fit into different buckets. You're running e-commerce. You're running something that's retail but e-commerce, and that's e-commerce in itself is huge. And there's different ways of investments that do that. There are some people who do like rev share with e-commerce brands. I mean, there's so many different ways also to take in an investor. And even from a creator side, though, My mind is blanking now. Maybe put in the comments. But was just a fund that was launched. It was like It's $100 million fund, and it's for nothing but people who create, but they're also like influencers, but they're creating things. It's $100 million fund that just came out like 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah.
That was announced, and so I think there's definitely ways if you would like to take an investor. I think there's different routes that you could go, but like I said, you put in boundaries for yourself. It just depends on, I guess, where you want to see what you're building in the next 5 to 10 years. So where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
I do not know. I don't know life right now without H. Kyle. I know that me going back and working for someone probably is not happening. I've been my own boss for the last 10 years. And so I always think that I'm going to be doing something creatively, be it through H. Kyle or another avenue. I don't know, but I know definitely will be an entrepreneur. I do know that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like based on your plans that you just laid out, that's going to take you well into the next 5+ years. So it sounds like you're on your way, regardless if everything is painted out clear, right? I think like the entrepreneur journey, as we know, nothing is ever very clear.
Right. It's never
We're like
clear.
what we say, we're building the plane as we fly it.
Yes.
We're figuring it out.
Constantly.
So for someone who's watching this, they're trying to start an online boutique or trying to get into e-commerce. What tools do you use, or that you would recommend to someone who's interested in?
So I definitely would suggest, first thing that they need to do, go get a LivePlan account and go write out your business plan so you can see what that looks like, how much money it'll take you to get started, or what's the least amount you think that you can do. And then I love Shopify, so I've switched my platform over to Shopify for e-commerce. It's super user friendly. What else tools do I use? I'll use Asana when I do have virtual assistants. I like that to keep in touch with them, and that's about it. Oh, Canva! I can't live without Canva. Canva is amazing because you can do so many things with it. Yeah, that's probably about it.
So this podcast, as you know, is called Rich Lessons. And we always ask our guests, what is that one rich lesson that you have learned in business or in life that you would tell someone else?
When you get into business, make sure you pay your state and your parish taxes.
Oh, that's a good rich lesson. I love when people give real rich lessons.
It is absolutely embarrassing for the sheriff to show up to your place of business asking for your taxes, and if you don't have it,
what happens?
Because I've experienced this rich lesson.
Yes,
they will set you up on a payment plan. You will be on that payment plan for a very long time. But yeah, it's a rich lesson I've learned several times. Because I'm also a believer, and because I am bootstrapped. If I don't have it, I just don't have it.
Yeah.
If it's a choice between giving you this and me keeping the lights on, I'm keeping my lights on, and me and you gonna come to an agreement. So
yeah, and also I think just taxes in general.
Yes,
is a rich lesson because so many people do not know.
Leave
right?
us alone. It's already bad enough that doing all of this, trying to stay on top of all of this, making sure that this bill is paid, and then the small amount of money that I get to make as profit, then you turn around.
You got to pay it in taxes.
And you got to pay it in taxes.
Yeah.
And then if you pay yourself, you get taxed twice, depending on how your structure is set up. So it's y'all pay the taxes. I've been saying this for years. Pay the taxes. Just pay it. It's annoying. If you can figure out, I had a system at one point where at the end of the week, I would just total up what the taxes were and just put it into another account. So at once a month, I could take care of that. Then, once again, one woman show, and then, it went by the wayside. But pay the taxes, guys.
Now, as a wrap up here, where can people find you? Where can people, find you online and shop with you?
So you can find me online to shop with me at shophkyle.com. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at shophkyle. And then personally, you can find me at Tia Whittington on Instagram and TikTok. I've managed to snag all of my names.
Yeah, you post on all those platforms.
I
so-
do.
And just know that if you order or when you order,
It's going immediately.
you're gonna get it like the next day, maybe the day after. She's like, every day I am at the post office.
I'm at the post office. You have to make friends with the postal workers. Those are people.
Another rich lesson. Make friends.
Yes,
people you
make
do business
make
with.
friends with the people that you do business with. Find you a business mastermind group if you can, and that's people that are in other industries but can connect you with people that you may need to know or can collaborate with.
Sounds great. Well, thank you, Tia. It's been a
Thank
pleasure to have you on Rich Lessons Season 2. Can't wait to introduce you to a whole new audience of
Yes.
shoppers.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Shana.
Tia.
Thank you, Feedy. No, I called you by your nickname in the end. All right.